Hey guys, in this video, I'll show you how to use Workflowy to keep yourself organized in school. So this works for anywhere from high school all the way to your doctorate. It doesn't really matter. These tips are going to apply regardless of what level of school we're looking at. So the first thing I want to show you is how to organize your classes. So let's open this up. I'm going to show you just 3 different ways to do this. You probably know that Workflowy doesn't really impose any fixed system or methodology on you. It's very open-ended. So that means that you can create any structure depending on your needs. So these are more recommendations, really. Take them, modify them to suit your needs. So let's get started. This first one is grouping by type. So this is for an imaginary college class called Introduction to Anthropology. We've got a link to the syllabus. You can, of course, add links in Workflowy, external, internal links. You can add images, documents, and so on. And so the idea of this layout is that we're separating the types of activities into their own bullets. So we've got classes in one, readings in another, and then assignments and research papers, all in their own bullets. So I'm going to open one of these so you can see what they look like. And the first thing you'll notice is that we've got date tags for all of these. And that's super important because then that's going to let us quickly filter items. So this is the topic for that day's class. And, I open up my laptop when I get to class on Monday, August the 23rd, and I simply click on the bullet and I start writing, taking my notes, basically. I can add text, images, links, and so on. All right, pretty simple. So that's class and notes. Same for readings. We can add links to references. We can add anything we want, right? Same with assignments. These are prompts. And then research papers. These are links to the topics. So since everything is tagged with today's date, what we can do is perform a search, clicking up here. And then let's say I want to search for September 1st. And now everything is showing that we've got to do for September 1st for this class. So here, this is the class, this is the reading, and this is the assignment or the assignments that we need to do. So pretty simple, and we don't really need to tag anything in this case because everything is already split into its own category based on the type of activity. So this is a very simple, nice way to kind of organize your activities for that class. So that's the first way, just grouping everything by the type of activity. Second way is with a calendar. So what we have here, we've got linked to the syllabus again. We've got a running calendar of all the days that we have classes for. And if I open up one of these, you can see that inside we've got tagged items depending on the type of activity. So in this case, since we don't have columns, what we're doing is tagging them with, if it's a lecture, a reading, an activity, homework, whatever. So for that day, I can see everything I need to do for that day kind of grouped together by the date. The most important thing in this setup or layout is the date, right? And then another thing we can do, because they are tagged, we can of course just, let's say I want to see all the readings that I have to do for the class. I just click on the reading tag. It adds it to the search. So we're just filtering based on this tag, and we can see for every single day all the readings that we need to do. I can click on it again to remove the tag, do the same for another one. Pretty simple, right? So in this case, if you prefer to view everything on a day-by-day level and group them all together by, by the date, this is another way that you could do that. And again, you could just perform a search, September 1st, whatever. We can see all the items that we have to do for that day. And then the third way that I want to show you is using a board. So let's open this one up. And in the board, what we've done here is, let me zoom out for just a second so you can see more of the board. We've split up the activities into columns. So now, whereas in the first example, we had them, as a bullet, now each one of those bullets, classes, readings, and assignments, now they're columns in the board. So it's just a different way to kind of visually see them as cards. Gives us a little bit more space. We can see multiple items at the same time if you prefer this kind of a layout. Again, we'll just perform a simple search. September 1st, and we can see we've got a class here. We've got the reading and the film. In this case, it's a reading and then an assignment. And if we had any research papers to do, we would see them there. So another really important thing about keeping yourself organized for school, since everything is so date-based, is that you can perform searches like I'm doing right here, right? So we're searching for a specific day, September 1st. But Workflowy lets you do all kinds of more intelligent searches. So you could do searches for things like today. You can just search for today and it'll figure out what day is today, and it'll filter any items that are tagged with today's date. You can search for yesterday. You can search for tomorrow. A really powerful one is this week. So it'll take, figure out what week we're in, and it'll take Monday to Sunday of this week and filter those items. So that's really great for all your classes that you need to, work on this week or last week or next week. You can do all those searches inside of Workflowy, and if the items are tagged, you'll filter them. Another thing that you could do once you've got a search that you like, so for example, this week, which is a really good one, I'm going to use the example of September 1st because it's not actually September, it's not currently September 1st. So if I search for today, it's not going to show up anything in my Workflowy. Is once you've got a search you want to save, you can simply star it. So you go up here to the search bar and you click on the little star icon. Now what that does is it adds it into the left-hand sidebar right here. And I just open that up by clicking a little hamburger menu icon. And so, if you do a search for something like this week and then you star it, you don't need to do that ever again. You can simply go into the left-hand sidebar, click on it, and it's going to filter your entire board for what you need to do this week, regardless of what the day is. It's going to figure out what this week is and show you those items. So it's a really powerful way to use searches and starring items. Okay, so let me now zoom out of this. Now I want to show you how to combine them for multiple classes. So you can use this system that I showed you for organizing the classes for each class. So in this case, we're just looking at one class. If you like any of these 3 different ways of organizing your classes, you would just, duplicate it for however many classes you have, and then you would keep them organized like that. But if you want to, you could also combine them into one single master view. So that's what I'm going to show you right now, or a single view. The first system is using a master board. So that's kind of like the board that we just saw. The difference is that instead of keeping the different activities separated by column, now the classes are what is the column. So here we have 3 different classes, right? And we've added a link as a note under this title right here. If you've never done that, you just go to the bullet menu, the 3 little dots next to the bullet, and you click on Add Note. And of course, we've got keyboard shortcuts for that and a bunch of other things that you can see in the bullet menu. And so all the activities for that class are now cards. So here we have the classes, readings, and so on. And I can expand these, see what's inside. And you'll also notice that they also have tags in this case. Now, if you prefer to work within a board, you could just work within the board if you want to do that. If that's the case, you don't actually need to tag the items because they're already, you know what class it is and you know that it is a class or it is a reading. The reason I've tagged them is because I'll show you in a second. We can do something pretty fancy to kind of help us stay organized if we want to. So basically, that's how you use this kind of a master board system. You make a column for each class, and you add, you separate the activities into cards, and you put all the items for that type of activity within the card. All right. Now, like I said, you could just use this system, and that would be fine. But if you want to have some way to track your progress, or if you're used to having a today list or a to-do list or something like that, then this next tip might be really useful for you. So if you've ever used a Kanban board, and that's basically just a board that's got like different columns, and the idea is that you go from the left-hand side of the board to the right-hand side, as the activities go from being in the backlog into, you're actively working on them, into the last column, which is basically you're done with them. It's kind of a way to visually and very quickly see how much work is left to do, how much you're currently working on, and how much you've done. We can use a system like that for tracking our school activities. The only difference is that I would change the names of the columns into something like this week, today, and done. And that's what we've done right here. We've just created another bullet and added a board inside with those columns. So what we can do is keep track of our activities. So, this is great for just we can do a search here for September 1st again, and we can see all the different things we need to do, the classes we need to go to, and the activities we have to do for September 1st. But let's say we don't want to do that search every day or every week. We want an easier way to kind of keep track of these. So what we can do is save that board and star it into the left-hand sidebar, and then we can drag and drop items into it. So we don't have to deal with doing the search and looking at this if we don't want to. So let me show you what that looks like. First, we'll go to the board where we track our activities. That's this one right here. I'll open it up. All right, we're looking just at the board. Now I'll star it. That's going to send it to my left-hand sidebar. We've got it right here. Right? We've got the same columns this week, today, and done. And now what we can do is we can go back to the master board, and let's say that it is September. Or actually, let's perform a search for no, that's fine. Let's do September 1st. All right. So for September 1st, we've got all these different activities that we have to do rather. So what we can do is open up the left-hand sidebar so we can see our activities board right here. And then I'm going to multi-select all the items that I need to do this week. The way we do that is by holding Command and then pressing each one of the items or clicking the items. So I'm going to select all these different items that I have to do. And then I just simply, on my keyboard, press and hold Shift, and then drag any one of these bullets that I've selected. I'm going to drag them into the This Week column, and I've just let them go. So now if I click on the board so we can see that, now they're all in here. And we've done something very interesting at the same time. We didn't just create a copy and drag them in here. What we created is something really special called a mirror. And you can tell that these are mirrors because they have a little diamond instead of a little round bullet. So let me create a new one so you can see that. So you can see this one is a regular bullet. It's got a little round bullet. This one has a diamond. And that lets us know it is a mirror bullet. And a mirror bullet is, if you want to think of it, it's like a live copy of a mirror, or a live copy of a bullet, rather. That means that when you create a mirror, now you've got two of them, right? It's like a copy. But if you make a change in either one, it's going to show up in the other one, right? So, for example, I'm going to go ahead and just quickly I'm going to add a sub bullet here. Here's a note. Now note that we're inside of the activities board, right? I added into this one right here, this card. I'm going to zoom out. Let's quickly zoom out, and let's go into the master board. So I think that was this class here, Introduction to Anthropology. We open it up, and it's right here, Wednesday, September 1st. I open it up, and there we go. The item that I added has been added to this one as well. So basically, any change you make to one mirror is going to be reflected in the other mirror. You can have multiple copies of a single mirror. It's not just one copy. It can be as many copies as you want. You can keep the same item in multiple places at the same time, and any change you make to one is going to show up in all the other ones. So that's pretty powerful. So we can work now from the, let me go ahead and collapse this. We can work now from our activities board. Now let's say that I want to work on this today. So I can multi-select again, and just holding Command and clicking on these, dragging them into the today column, and there we go. So I can work from here, and any changes that I make are going to show up in the master board that we've got. So let's say that we were done with this activity right here, and we have two different options. One is simply to complete the item. So we could do that using the menu right here, the bullet menu, and just click on complete, and you can see the keyboard shortcut for that. It's going to be different depending on if you're on Mac or if you're on Windows. It's going to show that right here. So we can complete the item once we're done with it, right? And this is going to start to fill up. One way to hide these, not delete them, but just hide them, is to go to the menu bar, and you've got this blue little check mark. And that's an option. That's a little toggle that lets us hide all of the completed items. So we're not getting rid of them. We're just hiding them. So if you don't want to have your columns here all cluttered. So that's one option. But the second option is to simply delete it. Now, the reason we can delete it is because this is a mirror bullet. When you have two mirrors, right, we've got the original, quote unquote original, in the master board, and then we made a mirror, and that's what we have right here. We have two mirror bullets. Whenever you delete one, the remaining one goes back to being a regular bullet. So we could either delete the one that's in the master board or the one that's in our activities board. It doesn't matter. The remaining one is going to stop being a mirror bullet. It's going to go back to being a regular bullet, and that's it. All the information that we put inside of it is going to stay, untouched. So we're not in danger of deleting anything. So you could actually just delete it if you want. And it's going to be right where we left it inside of our master board. So let me just open up so you can see that. Here it is. It's gone back to being a regular bullet. You can see that because the icon is now a regular bullet, and our stuff is still here. So those are the two different ways that you can work with, getting rid of the done activities, so you're not cluttering up your board. So that's the first way. The second way is using a master calendar, which is very similar to the calendar system that I showed you. The only difference is that now all of our classes are within a single date. So depending on which system you prefer, keeping it in a board, keeping it in a calendar, I'm just showing you what they look like and how you might use them. So again, we can just perform a search here, see all the activities we have to do, and each one is tagged by the type of class and the type of activity that we need to do. And then the final thing I want to go over is how to use Workflowy to study. So let's quickly just close this and open up this last section. So if you've never used Cornell notes or the Cornell method before, it's pretty simple. You simply start with a title, which is the main topic or the main idea of the class or the lecture. And then you take your notes. Since this is usually done on paper, that your sheet is split into two sides, left hand, right side. On the right hand side, which is the biggest section, you just take all your notes and you put them in your own words as the person is, explaining them, or the lecturer is giving you the lecture. And then on the left hand side, what you do is you come up with questions or cues or ideas, basically like short pieces of text that kind of remind you or prompt you to then provide the answer or the information that you've got in your notes. It's kind of like a summary for each one of the little sections of information that you're seeing in the lecture. And then at the very end, you just have a summary section where you put 2 or 3 sentences. You kind of summarize the main idea of the entire lesson. So that's what we have right here. Now, one of the nice things about Workflowy is that since it's a digital format, we're not having to kind of figure out, okay, how much space am I going to need in my notebook for this? You just take as much space as you want. And once you're done with that, so for example, let me just open these up so you can see what that looks like. This inside of each one of these bullets would be my notes. So as I'm in class taking notes, this is what I would actually be writing. If I've got access to the, maybe the teacher gave us access to the PDF or the slides, I would take a screenshot and paste them in here to make these for my notes. And then I can go back and then figure out my cues or my questions. So for example, this is about culture. So I would create, what is culture? And then I would indent this. And now what I've got is like a little, toggle or a little system where I can ask myself the question for reviewing and then check the answer, which is what we've done right here. So for each one of these notes that I've taken, I've created the cue, and that's what these are, right? So what I've done using this system is not only have I taken the notes during the class, and I've got them all right here, but I've also created a study guide for that lecture. So I can simply go through the questions, and test myself as many times as I want without having to go back and creating another document just for studying. I've done it all at the same, in one go, basically. So just a tip that you might want to try this system of taking notes if you've never done it before. It's very useful for helping you study. You're basically creating your study guide as you take your notes. So that's the Cornell notes inside of Workflowy. And we can combine this. You don't have to use Cornell notes if you don't want to. You can just take regular notes, however, using whatever system you prefer. But then you can also use this next tip that I'm going to show you, which is using the spaced repetition calendar. So if you know something about spaced repetition, or if you've used an app for that, that there's a thing called the forgetting curve, and so we kind of forget information in a very regular curve. It decays at a very reliable rate. So what we can do is, since we're already taking our notes and we're kind of creating our study guide, if you use something like the Cornell notes method, then it's very simple to just kind of schedule our studying after we're done creating our notes. So the way we would do that is we're going to go and zoom into the spaced repetition bullet. It's just a bullet right here. It's got a calendar. So these are all the dates for the entire, fall semester. And we're going to star this so it's easy to access in the left-hand sidebar. There we go. It's right here now in the spaced repetition bullet. And now what we can do is, let's say that we've got, I'm in my class, I take my class, I take my notes, all done, I've done my summary, all good. And I know that I need to basically, review this in 1 day, and then after 3 days, and then after 6 days to get my good, 3 repetitions in there for the spaced repetition method. So what we would do now is simply drag and drop this item into the spaced repetition calendar. So I'm just gonna, again, hold shift on my keyboard and drag into the appropriate days. So let's say that today is August the 23rd. So I know that I need to review it 1 day later, August the 24th. And then let's see here. I need to review it 1, 2, 3 on August the 26th, 4, 5, 6, and on August the 29th. I think I counted right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's right. All right, cool. So now if I jump to the spaced repetition calendar, let me close this up. You can see that inside here, we've got, let me just close these. You can see that we've got stuff inside for August 24th, August 26th, and August 29th. And if I just open these up, as you can see, when I've dragged them, when I press shift and drag them into the sidebar, we're creating mirrors again. So these are just copies of the same, live copies of the same lecture notes. So I can open these up, and again, I can review them. Right, so every day I can just check my spaced repetition calendar, open it up, see what day it is, and check all the classes or all the items that I need to review. They're all very handy right here. When I'm done, I can simply complete the day, and again, use the little toggle up here, little blue check mark, to hide all the completed items. And again, it's going to hide them in the left-hand sidebar as well. So it's very handy. So that was a lot to cover in this video, but I hope it's been helpful. We saw a bunch of different ways to organize your classes, grouping by type, or setting a master calendar or a board, and then a couple of different ways to create notes and then to study them. I hope it's been useful. So don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. And let us know in the comments section how you use Workflowy. If you have any tips or tricks that you'd like to share with the Workflowy community, be sure to let us know. If you have any questions, do that as well. So we'll see you in the next video.